What is up, everybody? Yes, this is Anthony, VR Game Rankings. I am setting things up right now as we speak here. Trying to get my chat up in the mix. Just a sec here. Okay, so hopefully chat will show up in that little window. And welcome. It is Saturday. It is July 21st, and this is the Daily Vlog Live. I think it's episode 153. I actually should probably write down these episodes and, have them dialed in. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and obviously I'll put in my little, oops, messed that up. One sec here. Go ahead and start it off with our typical intro. Now, yesterday, when I played this intro, it sounded like really off, the audio. So I'm wondering if the audio will be really off again. I'll let it run again. Saturday, June 21st. Oops. June 21st. It's not June. We are in the month of July. So anyway, that's that. Let me go ahead and get off that. Switch up. And we'll go back to Dr. Splorchy. Okay. So I'm not seeing anything in chat yet. I got some people on chat over here got some bad reverb on the sound. Yeah, I wonder if it's just like the audio from my headphones. Or, oh, I know what it is. I figured it out, guys. Desktop audio. Okay, watch. I'm going to try this again. I have desktop audio running like a dumbass. That's why. Okay, now I'm going to try the trailer. I'm not getting any chat, though. That sucks. Let me try to get... Here's chat. Why am I not seeing chat? Okay, let me unlock chat. Oh, here's chat here. Maybe because I just have to wait. I'm still having problems with the chat. So, this has been the show for the last, I don't know how many days. We've been doing this, 4 or 5 days now. And every day there are issues. Every day we start off with problems. But hey, I figured something out. Desktop audio. I think that is what was causing the reverb. For some reason, I had my desktop audio. I had a little volume there, and so that was adding extra. I think that was the reverb. So now I'm going to go ahead and try putting my intro on again real quick and just see if it doesn't have the echo now that I turn that off. Although it does say June, the mistakes continue. It does say Saturday, June 21st. Yeah, we're going back 1 month. So hopefully there's no echo that time. So hopefully that will be solved for future episodes. My bad. Okay, yeah, so on today's show, it's kind of a light news day. I was looking at the various news stories that are out there. Not a lot jumping off. But I do have, it isn't the intro, it's your voice. It still has an echo. No echo on intro, but mic audio is still echo. Oh, wait. There's double mic. God, all my audio levels were all fucked up. Oh, that really sucks. Okay. Here we are like 3 minutes later. You know what? I might just start this stream over and just delete that. I'm going to start this stream over and delete it. Sorry guys. I'm going to just do that because now it'll be better. So I'm going to stop streaming and I will restart. Welcome everybody to the VR Game Rankings Daily Vlog Live. Yeah, this is brand new. We didn't have an episode before. This is the fixed episode. Everything is working great. No double microphones, no desktop audios, no extra shit. So everything should be working now. I probably have to repop chat though. I guess I have to repop chat every single time. Let me see. Hold on one sec. Pop out chat. Copy this link. And go back over here. Properties. It'd be nice. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't have to do this. Maybe I just needed to wait a little bit. But, okay. So here we are. We're back on chat. I'm trying to get this chat window to look right so that it's as big as it can be, but still showing like most of the recent chats is what I'm trying to do. So I'll just kind of do it like that, and we'll just work like that. Okay, this is how it's going to be, folks, until I finally figure out how to do this properly. But yeah, so what I was saying earlier is it's a short news day. I mean, there's not a lot going on. That's the thing, is we do this daily show, so a lot of times the news is going to be dialed in. I mean, you know, we're going to go over the news, and there isn't that much news all the time, so it's going to be a little bit slow. But I do have a couple of things that I wanted to get into today. Basically, the two main things I want to get into a little bit later today is I want to talk about the Walker for PlayStation VR. I did get a code for that. I did try that game yesterday, so I do have my thoughts on the Walker. The other thing I wanted to talk about is HoloLens. I actually want to talk about HoloLens really quick because I saw a video, a really old HoloLens video, and I thought, man, this looks pretty good because, you know, I've been talking so much about Magic Leap, so I thought I'd talk about HoloLens a little bit. And we have a couple of other little minor stories, and then obviously, you know, we'll see what people are talking about in chat, and we'll just kind of take it like that. Okay, so I'm not seeing any new chat since I've restarted this stream. Hopefully sorted. That's better. Okay, let's see. Okay, so here's chat over here. So the last one says your voice is perfect. Let's see if I got... Okay, so I got that there. Okay, so hopefully I'm live. I'm assuming I'm live. Basically, I stopped... Oh, there we go. Okay, there's a new chat. T-Dub. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that, you know, we restarted a new stream. We got a new stream going. Okay, so as you can see in the video window over here, this is Squanch Games, and it's Dr. Splorchy Presents Space Heroes. And this comes out on Monday for Google Daydream. And I was curious, anybody out there, do you guys have a Google Daydream? You know, because I hope... For Google's sake, you know, I hope Google Daydream has its, you know, I hope it has a little bit of an audience and, you know, it's doing something, because I don't want it to be a complete and utter disaster for Google, because Google is this huge, gigantic company, and it would be nice if they're doing relatively well, you know, with their Google Daydream. But yeah, Squanch Games, they've done a lot of exclusives so far. You know, obviously Accounting Plus on PlayStation VR has been an exclusive for them, and this is going to be an exclusive on Daydream for a little while. Maybe later it'll come to Oculus Go and Gear VR, so that will be interesting. So that is coming out on Monday. I was just curious if anybody is into Daydream, if anybody has Google Daydream, if they play it, any of those kinds of things. So that is Dr. Splorchy Presents. Don't have much of a take on this. The one thing I do have a take on, though, is Accounting Plus. I wonder if that's going to come to PC VR at some point, and will they charge, you know, like $5.99, $6.99 or something for Accounting Plus? So, because we still haven't heard anything about Accounting Plus, I'm sure a lot of Rift and Vive players would want to try some of that extra content that was in Accounting Plus. So that is Dr. Splorchy. All right, let's go ahead and jump over to story number 2. And let me switch up here. Okay, and story number 2 is Gran Turismo Sport for PlayStation VR. What I understand is there is a new update that is going to be coming to this that is going to feature some convertibles, basically. There's going to be some new cars that you're going to be able to use in Gran Turismo Sport, and some of them are convertibles. And if you guys have played VR racing games, there seems to be a really big difference when you're in a convertible compared to like in a cockpit of a car. For whatever reason, I feel like when you're in a convertible, it is more VR. You know, it's because you're looking around you, and you're driving your car and the trees are going by. I know this when I played Drive Club VR on PlayStation VR. I was always choosing the convertibles because the convertibles just seemed cooler because it just was more 3D, you know. I mean, you would have the windshield if you're in a cockpit with, you know, the roof over your head and all that. You'd have your windshield and everything. And sometimes some of these developers would do some pretty cool stuff with the windshield and like light hitting the windshield and your windshield being dirty and that type of stuff. And that looks pretty cool. But I don't know, for me, I like being in convertibles, and so it is nice that convertibles are going to be coming to Gran Turismo Sport. I wonder, is anybody playing Gran Turismo Sport? Does anybody care? I know when it first came out, I think there was a demo for it. I don't know if I might have rented this from like Redbox or something, and I tried playing it, and it just didn't, you know, there's just not much to it. You're just driving around a track. Basically, all you're doing is, I think maybe one other car is on a track with you. So I haven't done that too much. My chat window is still a little bit off here. I spent a lot of time yesterday trying to get this chat window right. Let me see if I can, okay. I'm just gonna have to, yeah, I guess that's gonna have to be how the chat window kind of looks. I can always have my this pop-up chat window over here, and then that way I get a better view. So I'll just do it like that. Okay, let's go ahead and see what people are talking about in chat. Sunny in VR says the go-kart is the best in GT Sport. You know, I never tried the go-kart, I don't think. But yeah, you would think that would give you a really 3D feel. Fluke Rogi says GT Sport desperately needs a big VR update. The modes that are in it are sorely lacking. Yeah, and this is not a big update. This update just has a couple of cars, and a couple of them are convertibles. I just happened to see this on the PSVR subreddit, and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. Convertible cars, that will be nice. T-Dub, not touched once since GT5. Heard GT Sport was very shallow. Yeah, Jeff Stevenson, nope, never been into racing sims, as really have to have a wheel. Yeah, Jeff, though, have you tried Wipeout VR? Because you don't need a wheel for that. I mean, it is damn good. But yeah, you know, you want to be into racing games. Sunny in VR got time trials as well now. That is like, why didn't it have time trials in the very beginning? That's not difficult at all. And at least if you have time trials and you can keep trying to beat your time, I mean, why not? Asterisk Gaming says Mario Kart VR is coming to London. Yeah, I have heard about that. Roy Schwartz checking in. Yeah, so anyway, that's GT Sport. It is getting a few new cars. That's not a major story in any way, shape, or form. But, you know, just thought I would go ahead and mention that real quick. Okay, next little story here. Let me switch up. Okay, so the next story is, and we actually talked about this in chat the other day, but I didn't really like get on this so much. But, you know, Marvel Powers United VR is nearly 56 gigs. Nearly 56 gigs. Oh my goodness. This has got to be the biggest VR game ever from just a pure gig standpoint. And I think what the 56 gigs does tell us is that there's a lot of high resolution textures for all these different backdrops and everything. I mean, if you watch the trailers do look very colorful. I am a huge fan of like really colorful, bright stuff. And so that's one cool thing kind of about Marvel Powers United VR. But when there's a game that's 56 gigs, does this bother you guys? It bothers me to a degree because I really need to add another hard drive to my computer. I've been deleting games. In fact, Payday 2 VR was on my hard drive, and that thing was like 40 something gigs, and I had to delete that because I was like, man, 40 something gigs. I went ahead and deleted that. But I was just wondering if anybody else was surprised. Nearly 56 gigs. It's like 55 point something gigs for Marvel Powers United VR. I did see some people talking about that. Again, you know, light news day here. But let's go ahead and see. Yeah, so in chat, Roy Schwartz is saying, I wish I could use my wheel in Wipeout. That's kind of weird that it doesn't work in Wipeout. Although, I don't know, it'd be kind of weird because you don't feel like you're controlling the Wipeout vehicle with a steering wheel. So I can kind of understand that. All right, let's see here. Let's go to the next little story we got. Okay, and so this next story, we covered this a little bit yesterday as well, but we didn't get into it in any kind of major way. And that is Resident Evil 2. So basically a Capcom producer has commented on VR and Resident Evil 2, and everybody kind of just assumed, okay, well, Capcom did VR for Resident Evil 7, so they're going to do VR for Resident Evil 2, of course, right? And we found out that that is not the case. And I have a quote here from the producer, one of the producers on the project. His name is Tsuyoshi Kanda. Hopefully I'm not murdering that too bad, but he was in a recent interview with the UK's Daily Star, and he was talking about VR and this Resident Evil 2 remake, and he says, let me turn the volume down a little bit. Volume just kicked up on that trailer. That's the thing about these trailers, volumes go up and down. He says, we're not thinking about VR support currently, given that the camera perspective and the over-the-shoulder choice would mean that VR is not the best way to present the game. VR doesn't match the vision for us. And I don't know, that sounds pretty lame to me because honestly, like Edge of Nowhere, anybody? I mean, come on, Edge of Nowhere is pretty much over the shoulder. You know, Edge of Nowhere is over the shoulder. Edge of Nowhere is kind of Uncharted in VR, is the way I look at it. And so, so I guess they've never heard of Edge of Nowhere or tried that, because they definitely could do VR in this. You know, the interesting thing about Resident Evil 2, I mean, I've been playing these games since the very beginning, and Resident Evil 2, let me move my chat down here. Resident Evil 2 is a game that I miss somehow. Like, I remember when the first Resident Evil game came out on the original PlayStation, and I played that game. I got it right when it came out, and I remember the first moment, you know, where the dog jumps through the window, that German Shepherd. Oh my God, it freaked me the hell out. And when Resident Evil 2 came out, which was like a year or so later, I didn't end up playing Resident Evil 2. I've never really played Resident Evil 2, and it does look really cool. I really like the graphical look of this. But I just cannot get back into flat games. I've tried to go back into flat games, and I just can't get back into flat games. But yeah, it really is unfortunate that there is no VR for this, especially after Resident Evil 7. But, you know, that was their decision. All right, so we'll go ahead and bounce into our next. Well, let's see what people are saying over here real quick. I'm going to turn this volume down a little bit. Okay, Fluke Roji. Edge of Nowhere fixed the camera pointing forwards into the landscape, though, so it was really comfortable for most people. It never rotated, but yeah, it sounds like a bit of a lame excuse. Kev Gret is saying either Capcom is lying or they are saying we are not smart enough to make Resident Evil 2 work in VR. You know, I think it's mostly a case of it's an easy excuse for them. I don't know that they're actually lying, because they could easily have this idea that, and a lot of people have this idea that VR has to be like this first person thing where you're in the game is surrounding you. A lot of people have this idea. There's a lot of people, they don't consider third person VR games. Like, they just don't even consider them. Like, they know that they exist and they're like, huh, that's cute, but no, I want the VR world surrounding me. You know, I want my boots on the ground. I want to be in the VR world. I want to have hands in the VR world. And I understand that, but you know, I mean, some people just have that idea about VR, and it's unfortunate because we've seen third person games work very well in VR, and that's just a disappointing thing. Chris Gould, aka they did not make enough money on Biohazard. They made a lot of money on Biohazard. I don't think they did too bad on that. I mean, well, Resident Evil 7 is what I'm talking about. I don't know if that's what you mean by that. But and then they had, like, if you look at, you can go to their website where it shows how many players played Resident Evil 7 in VR, and isn't it like 500,000 practically or something? Crunchy says, I think it is Capcom making a design choice. Yeah, I mean, it is. If they've kept the fixed camera position, a remake of Resident Evil 2 could have been done the same way as the camera is handled in Chronos. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I don't know if a fixed camera perspective in pancake gaming would really work, though. I could see people not being fans of that. I'm trying to see if I can get my chat a little bit better here. I don't want to cut off chat too much, but I also want it to be big enough where people can kind of see it. I'm going to go down like that and just... Still having problems getting my chat situated exactly the way I want it. But, oh well. Okay, so let's see here. So that was the little Resident Evil thing. Next one I wanted to pop on is... Let's get the next one on here. Okay, so I believe it was Fluke Rogi talked about this the other day. We were in chat. And Titanic VR. So Titanic VR, there, you know, a new trailer was dropped, and it looks pretty interesting. You know, I wonder just how, you know, it's going to be hard for them not to be really similar to the movie Titanic as well. But then they're kind of going with more of this historic perspective. I have tried the Titanic VR that is currently, like, what's currently available right now, where you're kind of like in this submarine and you're like exploring Titanic on the bottom of the ocean. And then now this is where you're actually going to experience the Titanic, like, capsizing in the whole ordeal. So this is coming later in August 2018. So Titanic VR is already available, but I guess this is like a major update, right, that is coming. And, you know, the trailer looks pretty good. I like this idea of education in VR. I do think VR can be incredibly educational long term, because think about it. If you had like a high school class that was kind of talking about Titanic, and then if they could put everybody in the class into a little experience like this for 20 minutes or so, that would be pretty sweet. I think a lot of people would remember it a lot more. That is Titanic VR. Let's see if I can straighten out my chat a little bit more. Yeah, now it makes it pretty small. But yeah, so Titanic VR is going to be coming down the pipe at a certain point. So is this Titanic more of an experience? Yeah, it is definitely more of an experience. It is not a game. This is, you know how we have a lot of these different experiential things in VR? Like, for example, we had, what was the Anne Frank? You know, we had that Anne Frank experience not too long ago. And it's kind of like an educational thing. Now, normally these experiences are free, but every once in a while they do have some paid experiences. And it's probably difficult for these companies to really make good money on this, because a lot of people are like, oh, this isn't a game, well, it should be free. But, you know, these people work hard on this stuff. They need to be paid like anybody else. I kind of feel like we need to have a Netflix of VR, a subscription plan that would help these kinds of things. And then every month we get like 6 or 7 different experiences like this, like the Anne Frank thing, and some of these like Senza Peso, like any artistic type stuff that isn't a game that they would like to get some money for it, but it's difficult, you know, to try to charge if it's not a game. Let me pop up my regular chat to read this better. Fluke Rogie says, yeah, it's kind of both. You can control a sub and explore the wreck. Kev Gret says it's a long 6-hour experience. Crunchy says there was a cool Titanic puzzle adventure game back in early 2000 that you solved a murder on the Titanic and have to solve it before the ship sank. It was like a mist on the Titanic. That actually is a really cool idea. That adds a little bit of a different spin to it. Kind of like that. So yeah, that's Titanic. Not, you know, I'm not like super jazzed about it. It's just they did have a new trailer for it, so I thought it was kind of interesting. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get into basically the first real topic of the day, which hold on a sec here. So the first real topic of the day is the walker for PlayStation VR. So this is a game, I've actually been tracking this game for a very long time. And the picture that you see on the screen is a screenshot. Like a long time ago when I first heard about the walker for PlayStation VR, all we had to go on was like maybe 2 different screenshots. And this was one of the screenshots, and it showed like the inside of this guy's apartment or house, and it kind of looked cool to me. I thought, oh, this might be like an adventure game or something. And then the I'll show you the other screenshot that a lot of people saw with this early on. And then this was the other screenshot that you got, and you obviously see the guy's hands. He's got a gun, and it's kind of like a Hong Kong looking environment. And so that's really all we had to go on a long time ago with the walker for PlayStation VR. And this is one of these games that is coming out of PlayStation's China Hero project. Oh, so here's my first video that isn't scaled right. And it's not seeming to allow, let's see, how do I fix it? Hold on a sec, folks. Yeah, this is the first time I've had, since I've been doing this, this is the first one that was really off. Okay, so that's China Hero Project, and this was one of the games out of China Hero Project, which I think it's a good idea. What they're doing here is basically Sony is going to China, and they're looking at some up-and-coming developers, and it's kind of helping some really small indie developers in China put together some of these different projects, a lot of these which are supposed to be VR projects, and the walker was one of them. Project Boundary, that one where you're kind of in outer space, that was one of them. These are a lot of the different China Hero projects, and this was a while back. I think this was at the China Joy conference, like a 2017, I believe. And that's where we first found out about the walker for PSVR. And so I was just going to give a little bit of background story here on that. But let's go ahead and pop on. Now when I switch, it's going to be sized wrong. So let's go ahead and put it on the walker. And yeah, that's going to be scaled wrong. Oh man, so I was having such good luck with every video being the proper scale. Yeah, I think it's a resolution thing, so I'm going to have to figure that out. But yeah, so basically I got the code for the walker and tried playing it yesterday, and I gotta say, disappointed. I'm disappointed, and I feel kind of bad, you know, because I mean, these developers, they give you a code, they're obviously hoping that you're gonna have a lot of good things to say about their game, and I just don't have a lot of good stuff to say about the walker for PSVR. I think this game is going for 20 bucks. Could anybody check that? Or I can check that. I think it's 20 bucks. Let me check. And if it was $9.99, I would feel a little bit better about it. Let me look this up real quick. I'm pretty sure it's $19.99. Yeah, it's $19.99. Yeah, at that price, man, I don't know. It's basically ultimately the Walker for PlayStation VR. It's basically just a wave shooter. And so you do see inside this guy's apartment in the beginning, and it does look pretty cool. And there are some cool little aspects of it when you're in his apartment and you're looking around. But ultimately, it's just a wave shooter. And the other bad thing about it is the 3D audio is not very good at all. And the 3D audio is really critical in this game because basically you're just standing in one very specific spot, and there's no teleporting, there's no moving around. Like someone yesterday joked that the Walker, you know, it's false advertising because there's no walking. You don't walk. There's no movement. You are rooted to the ground. And it is a 360-degree experience. The interesting thing about it, it's not front-facing. Enemies will approach you from the rear sometimes. And if they're going to do that, what they really need to do is they need to have really good 3D audio. So if I'm standing here, I've played VR games before that had really, really good 3D audio, and you can hear that someone's coming from this direction. And then you can turn there, or you can hear that someone's coming from that direction. And this game, the 3D audio is not good. The 3D audio, you really don't know where someone's coming from. And so you have to like constantly like swing around. And so how do you move around? Well, one of the move buttons, it's actually on your left move controller. The two buttons on the bottom will snap turn you one direction, snap turn you the other direction. And the thing that I found frustrating about this is it's on your left move controller, and sometimes I would be hitting those buttons on my right move controller and I'd be like, oh yeah, it's on my left. Now those buttons on your right move controller, they're not used for anything. So why didn't they just double up and do the same thing on both controllers, so it doesn't matter which controller you're hitting the button, you know, to snap turn yourself to these different directions. But you have a sword and you have a gun, and you basically swap back and forth between your sword and your gun. And the only really interesting part of this game is, I mean, and it's kind of, I'm kind of going out of my way to find something interesting about this game, but the only real interesting thing about this game is you will have archers that will shoot an arrow at you, and you basically need to switch to your sword and you need to hit the arrow out of the air. You can't dodge the arrow. There's no movement, you know, so you got to hit the arrow out of the air, then switch back to your guns and start shooting all these things. So it does become kind of this multitasking deal where you're switching back and forth between your sword and your gun. You're swiping arrows out of the air, you're switching to your gun, and you're shooting like these zombies and other miscellaneous creatures. Really, probably the most redeeming quality of this game, The Walker, is the fact that it is developed by a Chinese developer. And so it does have this feeling to it like you imported this game from Hong Kong or something, and it was never meant to come to America. And probably like 10, 15 years ago, these are the kinds of games that never would have come to America. But now that we have on a lot of our, a lot of the video game consoles now are like region free, and so we don't care so much about like territories as we used to back in the days. But that's really the only real redeeming quality of this, is just kind of the Chinese flavor. Like the background's looking a little bit different. There's a lot of Chinese writing in different places, and you know, some stuff like that. So it's slightly interesting from that standpoint, but I was disappointed with The Walker. Yeah, Haymaker is the developer. 1999. Can't say that I was blown away at all. It's not absolutely god awful. Like it's playable, but there's better wave shooters on PSVR. You know, Dick Wild is available on PSVR. I think Dick Wild's kind of an underrated wave shooter. Brookhaven Experiment is on PSVR. You know, I've never actually played Brookhaven on PSVR though. I'm a huge fan of Brookhaven, but not PSVR. Let's see if anybody is saying anything at all about the Walker. Probably not. Crunchy says the stander. Yeah, it pretty much is the stander. Roy Schwartz, a beefy update for the Walker would have me interested. Roy, no, there's nothing that's going to have you interested in the Walker. Just let it go. Some of these games just, you know, not every game is gonna bring it. Hop Along is fun, but has only snap turning. Yeah, that's a new release that just came out, right? Hop Along. I haven't been following that one. Crunchy says they should have made the Walker like In Death. You know, the truth of it is, though, is a lot of these Chinese developers that were in this China Hero project, these guys are like, these are like some of the first games these guys have ever made. And so this is like, for them, I'm sure it's a hell of an achievement that they made a game like this, a fully functional game that is working and stuff. But like, these guys are like brand new developers, and so they're just kind of getting to grips with the game. You know what I want to switch to though, real quick? Hold on one sec. I'm going to switch. I want to switch back to that China Hero Project video. Okay, damn, I got to resize it, of course. Okay, so this China Hero Project video, the reason I want to show this video again is there's this game in here called Project Boundary, which is kind of looks like Gravity. You know, it's like outer space, looks like Gravity. It's supposed to be for the PSVR. I'll tell you guys, it's not this one. I think some of these China Hero Project games aren't even VR. Like, some of them aren't VR, most of them are. Oh, here it is, Project Boundary. This is by Studio Surgical Scalpel. Now, this game, that looks sweet. Like, that, those graphics and stuff, and shooting, and you're out of space, and, you know, gravity. Like, what is the deal with this game? That game looks good. Okay, so we'll get off of that. Let's go to our next story here. So that was the Walker. Not much going on there. Let me just double check back on chat real quick. But I think Project Boundary looks good, but, you know. Dick Wild is too hard, says Kev Gret. LOL, yeah, so we don't know. Looks like a drift with guns. Yeah, it does. I think it looks really good. It almost looks too good. Like, it's hard to believe that it would really look that good. In VR, anyways. I mean, it might look that good pancake style. You know, but yeah, we haven't heard anything about Project Boundary in the longest time. But this was back when we were more starving for PlayStation VR games. So, like, any PlayStation VR game that was even remotely a possibility. Like, here's the Walker. They showed this. I am the game producer for the Walker. I am going to make this game, and in another year, VR Game Rankings is going to talk a lot of smack about it. Oh, you know, one thing that you do have in the Walker is you get these little magical scrolls, and you can enhance your gun or your sword with the magical scroll, and it'll like you can make your sword into a freezing sword or your gun into a freezing gun. You shoot a bullet, it freezes something. So that was one other little aspect of the Walker. But yeah, I was pretty disappointed with the Walker. Okay. All right, well, the next major story I wanted to get into, and then after that we can go and see if there's some if there's any news that's popping up or anything else, and I can also see what people in chat are talking about. But the next thing I wanted to get into, let me go ahead and switch this up. Okay, and now everything has to be resized. Yeah, so I got to figure out my resolution thing. So the journey continues, people. Okay, so what I have on the screen right now is I have a picture of HoloLens. Some guys looking through these HoloLens headsets, And the reason I wanted to bring up HoloLens is because, well, you guys know how into Magic Leap I've been. And, you know, I'm kind of like a little bit of a Magic Leap fanboy, I guess you could say. And I'm excited about the possibilities because the thing about it is, you guys remember that, you know, a couple of years ago, we kept hearing about VR and AR. You know, there's going to be this VR revolution and this AR revolution. And a lot of people said, you know, AR is like maybe 3 or 4 years behind VR, but they're both going to be really big. And I'm excited about both of them. You know, I'm excited about VR. I'm excited about AR. And so I've really been into Magic Leap, but I haven't really said much of anything about HoloLens. Like, I haven't really given HoloLens the time of day. And I don't think that's necessarily right because, especially like looking at the Magic Leap stuff that we've seen, it doesn't necessarily look like miles better than what we're seeing from a lot of HoloLens stuff. And I was in this one, I was on the HoloLens subreddit. And I mean, not the HoloLens subreddit, I'm sorry. I was on the Magic Leap subreddit. And people on the Magic Leap subreddit, they were talking about how the eye tracking is only updating at 30 hertz, which is like a real big disappointment. There's a lot of developers that are going to be working on Magic Leap related software. And when they found out that the eye tracking only updates at 30 frames or 30 hertz or whatever is the updating for the eye tracking, they were like, oh man, there's a lot of things that I can't do if this is true. Why isn't it 60 hertz? Like basically every other eye tracking solution out there is 60 hertz. How could this only be 30 hertz? And so a lot of developers were, these like wannabe Magic Leap developers were talking about that. And so in this particular thread, this one guy happened to mention that HoloLens, he was talking about a particular program that runs on HoloLens that he thinks is pretty impressive. And I'm gonna show some video of that I think looks pretty good. So we'll get into that for a second. But yeah, you know, not giving HoloLens a lot of love. And there is going to be a HoloLens version 2. And the good thing about Magic Leap is, if nothing else, Magic Leap is putting the fire to Microsoft, you know, because Microsoft completely blew it in the smartphone market. Completely missed the mark in the whole smartphone revolution. Like, they completely dropped the ball there. And if Microsoft, if they could create a time machine and go back in time and have a legit smartphone thing, oh my God, they would love to do that because they completely missed that market. And so when we move to this new AR thing, where basically our phones are replaced with AR glasses, which is probably what's going to happen over the next 20 years, Microsoft wants to make damn sure that they are one of the leaders in this field. And that's why HoloLens, I mean, let's be real. The only legit AR product that is really available right now is HoloLens. So we should give Microsoft a little bit of love for that. Okay, let's see what some people are saying in chat real quick. I do have a HoloLens video I'm going to show you guys in a second. I think it's kind of cool, but let's see. Fluke Rogri, I've not really heard anything more about Project North Star since it was announced. Has there been any more talk about that? Yeah, I haven't heard much about that. Chris Gould, AR, I have zero interest. It will just be a cartoon kitten on your sofa. People say VR is a gimmick, not seeing the real use for a gamer. Well, Chris, how about this? Mario on your sofa. How about Mario on your sofa? How about Goombas on your sofa? Or, I mean, Chris, you're going to tell me that you were never 10 years old or 9 years old and you had those little green army men guys. Like, didn't you guys have the green army men guys, and your cousin would be over your house and you're on your carpet and you're creating like a freaking World War II, you know, with your little green army men, and then there's like little brown army men, and, you know, you're having your little war and you have so many tanks, and then, you know, you got your little soldier guys, and of course your dogs chew your army men to shit, you know, so you have certain army men, they're all disfigured. and you pretend that those army men were like, oh, that's where a bomb went off, and you know, he got hit by the bomb. So Chris, seriously, have you I will get the vacuum out. Have you never played on your floor like that? I mean, that's kind of where I think AR can go. See, the problem with AR, like one of the serious problems with AR, and this is what they were talking about in some of these Magic Leap Twitch live streams, is they were saying that you basically got to use the person's living room as the backdrop for the experience. And the biggest worry I have with that is, okay, there's a lot of cool things that you could do in the living room, but after a while, you're going to kind of exhaust it. You know, you're going to, and so then I think what it's going to go to is, okay, everybody needs to have a coffee table. Okay, and so then you have your coffee table there, and then the experiences are going to take place on the coffee table. And I don't know, man. Chris, I think you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Let's see. Drew Pickard is saying, I think Nintendo is the one company we really need to get into AR, VR, and they're going to be the last ones in. Their characters, IPs would do fantastic, and that's when we would see mass adoption. Although, you know, Nintendo did get into a little bit of AR with the 3DS, right? They had those little 3DS cards. Josh Hawk says, VR puts you in the game and adds to the immersion. I've been playing Skyrim VR like crazy, and it is amazing the level of detail I never noticed in the multiple other places. Yeah, I mean, that's what VR is always going to have over AR, is just, you know, completely surrounding you, completely taking over your visual senses, your audio senses. Fluke Rogi, it was all original generation Star Wars figures. Well, yeah, I mean, hell yeah. Star Wars figures. I remember we had, in my neighborhood, like there was like 4 or 5 kids that I would always hang around with. And everybody wanted to be Luke Skywalker, you know, because we would play Star Wars. We would have all our action figures and TIE fighters and all that stuff, you know, X-Wings. We'd have all our little stuff, right? Everybody wanted to be Luke Skywalker. I always wanted to be either Han Solo or Darth Vader. I loved being Darth Vader because I liked being like the villain and kind of like, you know, like the devil's advocate, basically. Crunchy is saying all the characters would be animated like in Star Wars HoloChess. Yeah. Chris Gould, the baby is on my sofa. Okay, well, Chris, don't you want there to be like an alien battle taking place on top of your baby? Like, how awesome would that be? Chris Gould, for me, there is a disconnect mixing a game world with my living room. We talk about things being immersion breaking in VR. Well, I think it's a different thing entirely, Chris. And one of the things I'm most looking forward to from a standpoint of Magic Leap, like this is an experience I can imagine with Magic Leap. So Magic Leap is an indoor product. However, supposedly you can basically go from room to room to room. So supposedly it has like some real-time mapping capabilities. And so I can imagine a game on Magic Leap, and I'm sure future versions of HoloLens will probably do this as well. But I can imagine a game on Magic Leap where like you're looking down at your floor, right? And all around your floor is like lava. And there's like these like stone areas, and you have to jump from stone to stone, and there's like these monsters that come out of the lava and you have to shoot them. And like you're going through your entire house, you know, like you're walking through that room and around, and the game just continues everywhere. Like I think what's going to eventually happen is these AR headsets, they're going to learn your house inside and out. You know, so they know, okay, we're in this hallway, we're upstairs, we're going up the stairs. They need to get these AR devices to really learn your house inside and out. And then even like your dog and cat, see, what I think is going to happen is like you're going to be wearing your AR headset, it's going to see your dog, and maybe in the game it can skin your dog to some type of character that is in your game. So it's going to take advantage of like things that are going on in your actual house. So I think that's going to be cool. But what I wanted to show you guys, let me go ahead and pop this video on. This is a really old video too. It's crazy how old this video is. I never saw this video. Maybe you guys have all seen this video. I have never seen it. But when I was in this Magic Leap. Let me turn the volume up on this a little bit. So I was in the Magic Leap subreddit, and this one developer in there, he was the guy that was complaining about the fact that it only has 30 hertz eye tracking update, and he's like, oh, that's super disappointing. And so he was talking about one of the best experiences he's had on HoloLens is this thing called ActionGram. And so that's this video right here. So this guy has George Takai, and he's making a hologram, scaling him up, okay? And then now he can make him talk or whatever, and so he can kind of move him around and position him. And so he's going to walk around this guy. So he has this hologram scaled up. You know, and so he's walking around. You can kind of see through him. And then when you get close, it doesn't look quite as good, you know. You can see like the textures are kind of lame. But, you know, I mean, this is a full-size hologram. Now, of course, we don't see the field of view, how terrible it is. It's one thing that we don't see. But what he's going to do now, so he has that George Takai ActionGram. He has that. Now he's going to do a T-Rex. He's going to add a little T-Rex in here. So he takes this T-Rex, places it on the ground, scale. He's going to scale it. These are the little hand signals that you do, which Magic Leap, of course, is going to do this as well. And so he's going to put the T-Rex over by George Takai. He's going to hit play. Of course, it's crawling up on the couch there. But don't you guys think that's kind of cool? I think that's kind of cool. I mean, obviously, you would like it if the T-Rex realized there's a couch, jump up onto the couch, jump down off of the couch on your ground. You know, you would like that. But I think this shit looks cool. Like, I never saw this. I've never seen this little demo. I haven't seen a ton of, like, there's a lot of HoloLens stuff that I have never seen before. It's really too bad that it's so goddamn expensive that, like, nobody really is, like, nobody takes the HoloLens seriously, really, because it's still $3 grand, right? Maybe when Magic Leap comes out and it's $2 grand, then HoloLens will have to drop its price, or maybe HoloLens 2 will be $2 grand, and then it'll get a little bit more competitive. But, like, I think that looks pretty sweet. Am I crazy? Okay, let me bounce over to chat and see what people are saying. Okay, Chris Gould. Okay, you convinced me. Saving up 50,000 pounds for Magic Leap. D&D would be good. Okay, Crunchy is saying, I think HoloLens has shown more for why AR will be awesome than Magic Leap has. Yeah, well, I mean, it's been around longer, and that people have been able to play with it more. I mean, we really don't know exactly how all this is going to work. So it's all kind of speculatory right now. It would be like playing Baldur's Gate on your table. Yeah, the tabletop stuff is going to be freaking sick. Like, I can really imagine, like, let's say you're into NFL football, like John Madden football. Imagine playing John Madden football on your kitchen table with little hologram players running around, throwing the football, you know, seeing the football go up into the air. Or like, you know, when they punt the football or kick it off, the football's like, you know, it's going up in the air and going down. And you have like these little guys running around. I think that's going to be awesome. You know, I really do. So AR, like, people that are hating on AR, you're going to have to deal with this, because this is going to come into your reality. Now, that is janky how the T-Rex is just like totally ignoring the fact that that sofa is like way higher than the floor. But I still think that is pretty cool. Okay, let's see. Jeff Stevenson, I think Magic Leap and Leap Motion have kind of messed up, as the names are similar enough that the products are confused. That is true, and I don't think it's the fault of either one of those companies. That's just how it worked out. Chris Gould, still not convincing me. Why would I want to play, say, Skyrim in my house? Tabletop games, yeah, I can see that, but thinking how many games would be just silly in AR. Yeah, it's not... they're two different kinds of mediums, you know? It's kind of like playing... like, I think if you have a portable gaming system and if you have a console gaming system, they really should have two different kinds of games. I know a lot of people will try to put these big console games onto the portable, and they do that mostly because sometimes people like to lay in their bed and play a game or whatever, but really it's two different mediums, and I think that's how AR and VR are two different mediums. And there's just cool things that AR is going to be able to do that VR doesn't really do. And there's cool things that VR is going to do that AR doesn't really do. And we know they're just going to converge on each other. We've already seen this with HTC Vive Pro. It's got the two little cameras on the front. We're going to see more and more and more of this stuff. And, you know, so it's two different things is what I say. Let's see what else people are saying here. AR is what we saw in Star Wars and Blade Runner with holograms. You know, speaking of holograms, has anybody seen that video where, I forget what the technology is called, but there's like, oh man, it's called Looking Glass or something like that. There's this thing where they have this like cube and they have like legit holograms, like super legit holograms inside this cube. If anybody can get me the name of that, I'll grab the video off of... There's a new thing that came out where it is like straight legit holograms, but it's like you basically have to have this thing that is like a shoebox. It's even smaller than a shoebox, and it's like glass, and it's like a real thing is inside this glass, and it's animating around. It looks freaking badass. Oh, you know what? I have another video for this ActionGram. Let me put that other video on here. Let me switch. I have another action. I have like the commercial for ActionGram. If I can find it. Ah, here we go. Microsoft HoloLens ActionGram. Yeah, so here's this commercial. It shows the T-Rex.
There are very few situations that aren't improved by a holographic goat.
I think my favorite ActionGram is still our zombie named Ned. He's a great actor.
ActionGram is part of the first wave of launch applications for HoloLens.
The main point of ActionGram is to allow a user to tell a story by putting holograms in their world and then recording them and then share that.
So we give you...
Oh, you see the FOV. Did you guys see that?
Holographic characters and props and tools, and you can use that to put holograms into the story that you want to tell.
My most popular video on YouTube, one of my friends spent hours adding effects. In the future, with holograms, I could maybe do those things in an afternoon. If you don't know how to use VFX or you don't have actor friends, you can't make the type of content that ActionGram is going to allow you to be able to make.
Our app is focused on...
Anyway, so yeah, they have this, I mean, that looks pretty cool. Like, honestly, I'm looking at this commercial and like, what is going on in here that isn't like Magic Leap? It's like the same thing. So it's like, why are people so hyped on Magic Leap? Like, why doesn't HoloLens get any hype? I feel bad for HoloLens. But there was this one part where they showed the T-Rex, and you could kind of see like a square outline. Just, it's like slightly different video square outline. Like, look at that zombie sitting right next to you. Like, now if it looks like that when you're in like Magic Leap or whatever, like Chris Gould, tell me about that zombie that you saw at the end. Like, you can't find a way to do something with that. Oh, Chris Gould says too old for porn. Just want Debbie Harry to do a little cleaning up. Yeah, somebody probably mentioned porn in AR. Let me back up. Hold on a second. Okay, yeah, Crunchy said it would eventually replace smartphones. Chris Gould said, yeah, I agree. Just looking at it from a gamer perspective and thinking, not for me. Debbie Harris, circa 1980s in my living room. Well, okay. Crunchy says, I think it looks better than the Magic Leap demo. It looks better than the recent Rock Golem demo. Oh, do you see that square around that T-Rex there? That's probably the FOV. IPCSK, as usually, porn push on evolving new technologies. I bet guys pay fortune to pay some hot chick in their living room. Well, I will tell you this. Like, when it comes to porn and AR, think about this. You guys have a bedroom. You have a bed. You know exactly what your bedroom and your bed looks like. Now imagine you're wearing now imagine you're wearing AR glasses, and like whatever your favorite all-time actress of all time or whatever that is kind of the slutty one that will dress provocatively is on that bed and looks like she's really on that bed. You're telling me that is not going to have some kind of like power there? I think it is. I mean, let's just be real here. Let's see what else people are saying. Phil Yarn, maybe they should have him throw a rock at your face. Yeah. Fluke Roji certainly looks better than a rock. Crunchy, I think the advantage of AR is that you could do VR with AR. Just blocking out the real world would make it AR, would make it VR. The problem there, Crunchy, is like none of these AR products can put black. Like they don't have the ability to put black into your world. So what these AR products would have to do is to do VR as well. It's almost like they would have to have AR glasses that like you say, okay, I'm going into VR mode now, and then it goes and it like drops these like black backgrounds, and then they have all the AR stuff go in front of it, and then that would basically make it VR, because these things they're both additive displays. Like you can see the FOV when that little dinosaur falls off that table there. They're additive displays, which means they can only add things into the environment. See, that's what everybody got upset about Magic Leap is like Magic Leap on their Twitches, they're saying this is an additive display. We can't do black. And everybody was like, what? This is an additive display? Whatever happened to the fiber optics projectors beaming shit into your eyes? That was not that was like taking over, not an additive display. That's how they would do the whale splashing in the gymnasium, is by just shooting straight light into your eyes and being able to do black and all that stuff. But as far as I know, AR cannot do black. That's like a problem. It's a real problem for them. Now, what AR can do is they can do a number of different tricks to try to make your brain create black where black doesn't exist. See, the thing is, our brains are kind of crazy in the way that our brains can take small pieces of information and then fill in the rest of it. And like we see shit that isn't there sometimes. It's crazy how our brains work. It really is bizarre. Let's see what else people are talking about over here. I think the advantage of AR is that you could, yeah, we already did that. Okay, they could be both done on the same device. Yeah, I mean, that is going to happen. They are going to converge on each other. Holographic screen, the future of pancake game with thing jumping out of the screen virtual. Where's this going, T-Dub? Where is this going? I don't know. One step away from a real woman. I guess we're talking about the woman on the bed thing. Yeah, I don't know. You know what I think really long term? Like you guys that have seen Black Mirror, right? You know, the Black Mirror. What is the one Black Mirror episode where like everybody has contact lenses on? What I really think they're going to be able to do long term, and this is going to like destroy relationships between human beings, is they're basically going to be able to track another human's body. And so your girlfriend can basically be any woman you want her to be, because I'm talking like 30 years from now. Like if you want your girlfriend to be Scarlett Johansson, your girlfriend will be Scarlett Johansson. She will look exactly like Scarlett Johansson because you'll be wearing these contact lenses. It'll be eye tracking every little millimeter of her and replacing her with Scarlett Johansson. I don't know what that is going to do for the future of humanity. It's going to be a dark future. That's why Black Mirror is such a great show. Okay, Fluke Rogri, what was that AR thing with the reflective mats you had to use that ultimately failed? I think they basically had the idea to just have a clip visor to block out the real world to turn it into VR. Yeah. What if your girlfriend already is what you want her to be? Chris, you're in the minority there. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, yeah, of course, our girlfriends are exactly what we want them to be. We would never want to have a fantasy of them being any different. Never. That's not possible. God, think of what it would do for like the prostitution industries and all of that. That is crazy. But anyway, yeah, so I just thought I would show. I never saw that George Takei demo, and I just thought it was kind of interesting. You know, that's all that was. And then I thought, you know what, I haven't really been giving much love to HoloLens. So, you know, maybe I should give HoloLens a little bit of love. You know, and so I thought we could talk about that for a second. But basically, so I'm out of stories as far as I got. That's all the stories I had for today. But let's go ahead and before I bounce out of here, I can always, of course, head over to Reddit and just kind of take a scan of the stories that are going on Reddit. So I'm on the Vive subreddit right now. It says, Vive repair 3 weeks and 138 euros later. My HMD came home broken. Gee, what a shocker. What a shocker. You mean to say that HTC Vive doesn't have good customer service? Oh my God. Front page news. Galgun 2 is out. Playable in VR unofficially. H3VR Early Access Update number 58. So this is hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. That shit is still in early access? It's been available for over 2 years. There has to be a limit on early access. Like I think there should be a law that says you can only be in early access for a maximum of 2 years, and then you got to come out of early access. 'Cause that is crazy, dude. Hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades, wasn't that available like the day the Vive launched? That's over 2 years old. Early access update number 58. I mean, I'm not talking smack about them. Rust, the developer of hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades, fabulous developer. I mean, they really care about their community, constantly updating that game. But early access is kind of funny. Archangel, Hellfire, free to play, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Gorn is a 10 out of 10. Let's just see what this guy's saying about Gorn. Smoky Boogs 49. Let's see what he had to say. Gorn is legit the best game out there right now. It's so clear and so fun. There's nothing better than cutting someone and and then throwing their dead body into another enemy. I legit could play it all day long. Just load up the Gladiator or 300 soundtrack and go to town. Hands down, best VR game. Yeah, Gorn is pretty freaking awesome. I mean, one of the coolest things about Gorn, earlier on this live stream, I was talking about Marvel Powers United VR, and I was talking about how incredibly colorful it is, and I like it when games go color, you know, because it's kind of rare. And Gorn is another one of these incredible colorful games. In fact, if Gorn didn't have the blood, it would almost seem like a Nintendo game to me in certain ways. It kind of has that quality, that cartoony kind of quality to it that is hard to describe, but obviously with the blood just oozing everywhere. You know, obviously it doesn't go down that road. But the other awesome thing about Gorn is the collision detection, the hit detection. I've talked about this a million times. I should really go back into Gorn. I had a lot of fun when I was playing Gorn. And, you know, that's kind of like first world problems of somebody in my position. We try so many games that a lot of times we'll try a game and then we just don't go back to it. I really should go back to Gorn because goddamn Gorn is good. Here's a topic, best Steam game under $10. Let me see what these guys are talking about. This guy says Townsman VR and Pavlov VR. Gee, I wonder if this person is related to Townsman VR developers. This could be what we call a guerrilla post. Guerrilla marketing. My favorite so far, Townsman VR and Pavlov VR. Yeah, so it's like you combine your game with a really popular game to try to make it look like you're not trying to promote Townsman VR. I don't know, like explain like I'm 5 _ interpolation is the Redditor. I don't mean to call somebody out like that. Like okay, this guy joined 3 months ago. Gee, that's kind of convenient, isn't it? But I don't know. This might be a real person, so maybe I shouldn't talk shit. But there is a lot of guerrilla marketing that goes on Reddit. I hope you guys are well aware of that. Like, you cannot trust a lot of these posts. Here's what people are saying in this thread. Without a doubt, Pavlov VR for me too. Yeah, because Pavlov is $9.99, right? That's like the normal price, and then sometimes it goes on sale for like $6.99. Climby is mentioned. I only tried the Climby demo. Climby should be my kind of game, but I didn't get super into it. It was a little bit, the graphics are kind of Mario 64-ish and very muddy, kind of like muddy colors. If it was really bright and vibrant, like, say, Windlands, I would probably be a hell of a lot more into Climby. Front Defense Heroes, the thrill of the fight. Dimensional, man, you can get that game for like $3 or $4. Stolen Steel, Boxing Saga, Evil Robot, Traffic Jam. Haven't heard a lot of these games. See, for me to be able to tell you what the best Steam game under $10 is, I'd have to look at a huge giant list of the games that are under $10. So let me bounce over to chat and see what people are talking about. I probably need to get off this George Takei video. Hold on here. I'm going to get off this George Takei video. Let me get into a different folder here. Try to find some other video to pop on the screen here. Just some miscellaneous thing. I'll throw the Red Matter trailer on here. I really like Red Matter. I'm a Red Matter fanboy. But anyway, let's see what's going on in chat. Okay, let's see. Researchers are working on tangible holographic plasma. Look it up. Did you talk about the firewall dimmer video yesterday? Kev Gret, how many times do I have to tell you I don't care about multiplayer that much, so I'm just not into firewall that much. I will, you know how there's like a lot of flat gamers that need to be dragged kicking and screaming into VR? I kind of need to be dragged kicking and screaming into firewall. Is pretty much the way I break that down. Crunchy, this is what they did in Blade Runner 2049. Made the prostitute look like his holographic girlfriend. Airman 929565, tend to break shit playing Gorn. Yeah, Gorn, you really need to like get TVs way out of the hell out of the way. You will destroy TVs with Gorn. Chris Gold, hey Anthony, if you like colorful games, have you tried Furious Seas? You know, I've heard Furious Seas mentioned. Is this a VR specific game, or does it have like a VR mode? What is Furious Seas? I've heard it mentioned a couple of times, but I am kind of like late to the party on that. I don't know what it is. I'm not really into like Sea of Thieves and a lot of these pirate games, so I don't know that I'd be into it, but I've heard people talking about that. T-Dub says, picked up Pavlov a while back for £2. IPCSK, I love Alien Isolation. Amazing full game for lots of hours with amazing alien atmosphere. Yeah, I've heard that the mod for that improved significantly. Chris Gould, if you look at the devs behind Townsman, they just release half a game, take the cash and run. Yeah, that unfortunately does happen. Fluke Rogi, yep, I still rate it as the single most immersive game I played. I'm pretty sure he's talking about Alien Isolation. I believe Steve from VR Roundtable, I'm pretty sure he has Alien Isolation and has played that. I think Gary maybe too. I've never played it. I'm kind of scared of that. Like a lot of VR games, I can handle a lot of VR horror for the most part. I can deal with a lot of VR horror, but I don't know. There's something about the alien. There's something, especially if you're like in little corridor, especially if you get into those air ducts. Like, have you guys ever played Unseen Diplomacy where you're actually physically crawling on the ground? I kind of have this idea for like a VR arcade experience where if you had a wireless headset, okay, and then you make a maze on the ground that is made with like clear plexiglass, but where you're really in a cramped space. So you fill the side walls, so it's claustrophobic. You have a ceiling above you, but it's all plexiglass, so like the tracking can still work. Okay, and you have a wireless headset on you, and you're like crawling through the vents, and maybe you have a flamethrower, and there's aliens that are coming through the vents. That would be freaking sick. I think that would be an awesome experience. Somebody at a VR arcade needs to make that. That would be so freaking sweet. Like the Void or something like that. Call it the Aliens experience. Crunchy says, Creative Assembly should make a VR game that would blow Colonial Marines away. VRium. Imagine stereo camera drone connected with HMD movement to live holographic telecommunication. That's a lot to imagine there. Fluke Rogi. Alien Isolation is the only game that still genuinely scares me to play it. Resident Evil 7 didn't do anything for me in comparison. God, that's saying a lot, because Resident Evil 7 at certain times does kind of scare me. So, I mean, when that guy comes storming at your ass, the big guy. I need to try the Nibre patch for VR in Alien. Yeah, TW, you absolutely do. If you have that game, you've got to try that patch, because people do swear by it. So anyway, I was on the Vive subreddit. Let me check Oculus subreddit real quick, then we'll bounce out of here. We've been going over an hour. Bridge Crew, the Next Generation DLC coming today. Can you guys believe I've never played Star Trek Bridge Crew? Never. Just never played it. Just missed it. Orbis VR is fantastic. I still haven't gotten into Orbis VR. I said I was going to get into Orbis VR. I just didn't do it. Is it just me, or does Pixel Ripped pretty much seem like a guaranteed good deal for $20? Based on the trailer, I mean, I was playing that trailer all day yesterday. I think it looks really good. The only thing I'm worried about is being really short, because $20 seems almost ridiculously cheap almost. Here's somebody that says touch controller draining battery when off. This is the exact situation I'm having. I've told people about this. Is your PC on almost all the time? Yeah, because I leave my PC just freaking running. I think what I might have to do actually is just take out the goddamn batteries, but what an irritation that is. Oculus, you need to figure out what is going on with your software. One guy said, are you leaving your controllers on the ground in such a way where the thumbstick might be, it's the thumbstick is being moved slightly? And so I'm starting to put my Oculus touch controllers on this flat table where my thumbsticks, because I was leaving them on the ground, and maybe that was part of it. That might have been part of it. Not much else here on the Oculus. Oculus begins shipping $300 commercial Go for Business bundle. The one thing that sucks about these, there's all these Oculus for Business and Vive for Business and stuff. But a lot of times if you read the fine print, the commercial warranty that you're getting is not for VR arcades. And so it's kind of Oculus. Do you know this, guys? If you were to have an Oculus Rift or an Oculus Go and you wanted to have them in a VR arcade, and you want to let somebody in the VR arcade play Robo Recall, or you want to let somebody in the VR arcade play Marvel Powers United VR or Brass Tactics or anything that is officially on the Oculus Store, that is illegal. That is absolutely illegal. If you go to a VR arcade and they are playing Oculus exclusives through Oculus, that's illegal. You're not allowed to do that. And the reason you're not allowed to do that is Oculus, if you read the fine print for their commercial warranty, Oculus says that you need a separate agreement from Oculus. And so I actually inquired into this because I'm interested in using Oculus Go's in a certain situation. And so I contacted Oculus for Business, and what I heard from them is that they are working on a deal similar to Springboard VR, where VR arcade owners could sign up with them, and you pay like a certain amount a month. You pay a certain amount per month per headset, and then you also pay a certain amount per minute, like 10 cents or 8 cents per minute or whatever. That's what Springboard VR does. And so Oculus doesn't have a setup yet for VR arcades. Supposedly we're going to find out more information at Oculus Connect 5. But I'm always seeing these threads where people are talking about Oculus for business. And, you know, you can buy this Oculus Rift business version for $300. And a lot of people just assume, oh, I buy that for $300. I can start using it in a VR arcade. No, you can't. No, you can't. You got to read the fine print. I'm going to switch over to the PSVR subreddit, see if they have any news over there, and I will bounce back over to chat, see what chat is saying. Let's see here. Check chat. You should do the VR roundtable live as well. Yeah, that would be kind of complicated because we would have possibly 4 video windows for each of the 4 people, and then to try to also throw chat in there as well. But, you know, maybe it's something we might consider, something we might think about. Anthony, did you see the Comic-Con Jack Ryan VR experience? You know, I saw the headline for an article about that, and I didn't click on it. I kind of thought, I should check this out, and then I was like, nah, I need to go to bed. That was last night. It was pretty late, and I needed to go to bed. I'm in San Diego. I didn't try the Jack Ryan thing, but it looks cool. It's really big in person. It looks big in video too. Yeah, I think what this Jack Ryan thing is like, it's a very arcadey, like it's zip line in VR, you're in VR. Like that sounds cool. Like I want to see more experiences like that. Like I really think when it comes to VR arcades, instead of just having these booths where people play VR arcade games in a booth, I mean, who gives a damn about that? What people need to do with VR arcades is they need to come up with little custom experiences where you're touching things, you're manipulating things, levers and knobs physically, like really touching it, you know, and maybe it's using leap motion, and so you can see your hands in the game and you're like touching real physical knobs, you're grabbing things, you're picking things up, placing it over here. The physical interactivity, I think that will add so much more immersion. You know, I think it's adding the physical to what you're seeing. You know, you're adding that extra sense on there. So let me just check real quick PSVR subreddit, see if there's any news going on here on the PSVR subreddit. The persistence review embargo lifts on July 23rd. You know, I wonder how do you get keys for games from Sony? Paradise Decay isn't in chat today, I don't believe, but I am curious. I think you have to know somebody at Sony, or you have to be a pretty big, like you need to have like 10,000 subs at least or something. They don't even like think about you. So I wonder if Paradise Decay, does he cover PSVR stuff? Does he get PSVR codes? Because see, if a game is being published by Sony, I typically will not get a code for that. And it does kind of suck because that shit does add up. Is Dreadhalls on PSVR nowhere near as good as the Rift Go version? I'm kind of interested in what people are saying about this. Let me pop on this and see what people are saying here. I have a Rift PSVR and a Go. I've played Resident Evil, blah, 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 blah. But Dreadhalls is terrifying, particularly scary on the Go. That's interesting. It'd be cool to try Dreadhalls on the Go. Seems it's pretty good on PSVR. It's an old game and the graphics are dated, but I cannot see there being much of a difference on other headsets. I thought Dread Halls was fun. I like Dread Halls. I mean, it's a very simple game. All you're doing is, it's just like trying to scare you. You know, you're going down dark, scary hallways. You see things, and then you want to run the hell away from it. But I had some fun with Dread Halls. I thought it was pretty cool. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much. Well, I can check Upload VR and see if they got any breaking stories and Road to VR. But I don't think there's anything going on right now. It's kind of dead. Maybe, yeah, nothing on Upload VR. I'll check Road to VR real quick. Oh, they do have the Comic-Con's Jack Ryan. 60,000 square feet. Wow. Yeah, see, I saw this on Road to VR yesterday. I didn't end up clicking on the article. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Zip line and all that. I wonder how all the tracking works. I mean, that would be awesome if they could get the tracking working properly. That would be cool. Maybe I'll talk about that a little bit more in tomorrow's show. Okay, so let's see what people are talking about over here on the side. I'm in San Diego. I didn't try the Jack Ryan thing. Okay, all right, I did that. It looks like your show style was meant to be live. I think he's talking about VR Roundtable. Yeah, I mean, well, we record it live on Sunday, and then we post it on Monday. Zipline in VR, rappel down a helicopter. Sunny in VR says, I say that as Nathy's M-Talk and a couple other guys do a live podcast every Saturday. Oh. Crunchy, they should be Void experiences. Yeah, I mean, Void is doing some good stuff. We need other, like the Void is only in so many locations and it's crazy expensive. I think though in the future there's going to be a lot of like the poor man's version of the Void, not quite as incredible, still pretty cool, and basically in a city near you. So I think there's going to be a lot of that. All right, guys. Yeah, so nothing much is going on, and we're way over an hour now. So I'm going to go ahead and call it. Call it like an alcoholic. Let's see here. Alrighty, well, that's going to pretty much wrap it up for this episode of VR Game Rankings Daily Vlog Live. I will see everybody tomorrow at 10 a.m. See you then. Later.